No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by our friends at Play Now. Along with Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss a score that we're very familiar with. The result was what was going to be in question. More often than not, we can just assume it's going to be a 4-1 game as it was tonight. The question was which of the two teams was going to come on the winning side of that 4-1 score. And tonight it was the visiting Columbus Blue Jackets who come into Winnipeg and come back after trailing 1-0 and score 4 unanswered goals and give the Winnipeg Jets a defeat on home ice, Dave, as the Jets start a 4-game homestand. Nice to see you again. It's been, a little less than 24 hours, I guess. Maybe a little more than 24 hours.
A little more.
Yeah,
but
sorry, I forgot for a second what time yesterday's game was at. But a little more than 24 hours. Nice to see you again.
It was nice to see you as well, Drew, even regardless of whether it is 24 hours above or below. But ultimately, we saw each other a lot this weekend.
Yes.
And despite that frequency, this is a different team. And it's interesting because one of the biggest question marks, I don't remember if it was on the postgame show or if it was on the Saturday show earlier in the day, we talked about the injection of new legs.
Yeah, it was on the post-game show last night. It was after the Play Now game recap last night, coming back from break, where I asked you if you thought there might be some fresh blood in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets, and there was. Colin Miller came into the lineup. Logan Stanley stayed on the left side, rather. Colin Miller came in. Ville Heinola came out.
Yeah.
Allegedly a maintenance sort of situation, a workload management, a rest management sort of thing, not necessarily based on who's playing better. But yes, there was that one new body in the lineup. But I think what you were going to say, and I apologize for interrupting you, is should this have been an opportunity to get more than just that one player in?
Exactly. And from my mind, watching that game, it was a hard hockey game to watch. And I was, of course, in Canada Life Center for the first 2 periods and then watching the third period from the residence. And I have to say, it was, kudos to the Jets fans who slogged through that snowstorm we experienced today here in southern Manitoba to make it to the rink to check out that hockey game, because there are probably the two most exciting things were the Canadian Armed Forces Band, which was awesome, Canadian Air Force Band, I should say. They were amazing. Like, I don't know, they were doing EDM, but they were doing it instrumentally, really cool stuff. And Bob Odenkirk. Aside from that, those are the two coolest things that you would have seen if you were inside.
Neither of which had anything to do with the on ice product you got to witness.
No, absolutely not. They were not. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to justify your attendance at the rink this evening, those two things might have done it for you. But the game itself was a hard game to watch, and the Jets played with little emotion, little speed. They just collectively as a group, I mean, they made, to borrow a Claude Noel-ism, there were so many free pizzas, and I'm not blaming Johnny Oduya, but let me tell you, they were throwing pucks away, and like every guy was guilty of it. Neil Pionk, at least 2 or 3. Logan Stanley, Colin Miller. Colin Miller literally gave the puck away in front of Eric Comrie to create a high danger scoring chance. Like, I was like, what am I watching right now? It was atrocious. It was not good hockey. And you could say, well, long road trip, first game back, it's a back-to-back, blah, blah, blah. All those things I'm not disregarding, but you're also facing a Columbus team, while rested, had lost 3 games in a row. And even though, we've talked about it on yesterday's show a little bit, they can score. They also give up a lot of goals. And the Jets just didn't do what they needed to do, Drew, to take this hockey game. And I think probably the biggest kind of indicator that this wasn't going to go well for the Winnipeg Jets And it's been a theme. And obviously without Nikolai Ehlers, who's probably the most impactful guy at 5-on-4, or one of the most important guys, I should say, at 5-on-4.
Yeah.
Their powerless power play is, and I know Kyle Connor scored eventually, but it could have broken the game open in a much different fashion if they would have taken advantage of it in the first period. They didn't. And that to me was a big almost set the table for the way we were going to watch this hockey game, when the Jets just weren't able to get anything done. And it just, like I said, they just weren't. They allowed Columbus to stay in the game. And you kind of sensed that, like, okay, if Columbus can keep pushing, well, they're going to take advantage of it. And they did.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was thinking about earlier as well. This was the game, the third period in particular, where the Jets didn't have any jump. Columbus had the jump in the third period, and they basically said to the Winnipeg Jets, we're not going to try anything flashy. If you're going to get into the dirty areas, we're going to make the dirty areas so difficult for you to get into. You're going to have to show an incredible amount of will and want and demand of yourselves and desire. And I think they did that, knowing the Jets had played, 3 and 4 nights, second on the back-to-back, and all these scheduling aspects that sort of went against the Winnipeg Jets. The Columbus said, we're not going to play into your hands. We're going to just collapse. We'll give you all the ice you want on the outside, but you're not going to be able to penetrate into the front of the net unless you have a higher degree of will than we think you have for today's game. And I think that's, kudos to Dean Evison, who we know, of course, from his time as the head coach of the Minnesota Wild, and he's a good coach. He got dismissed out of Minnesota. I don't think that it was because he was a bad coach all of a sudden. I just think, given where Minnesota was at the time, they needed a new voice. He goes to Columbus and he has them playing with an identity. He has them playing with a structure. He has them, they're not a great hockey team by any stretch of the imagination. Let's not confuse Columbus with one of the world beaters, but he has them playing hard. They've won 12 of the 26 games that they've played this year, which is, obviously you want to be above 500 in terms of your winning percentage, but it's not that below 500. They're not one of the bad teams like Chicago. They're not a bad team sort of like Buffalo is, that's won 11 of their 27 games. Columbus is a team that is beginning to learn and beginning to find an identity. And I think the Jets, they executed their identity better than the Jets did, particularly in that third period. And I think a big part of that has to do with Columbus scoring so quickly after the Jets opened the scoring. That certainly helped them. That didn't give them any doubts to linger in. But I agree wholeheartedly with you, Dave, that in the first period, particularly earlier in the game, when the Jets had power play opportunities, they needed to capitalize. Yes, they get the opening goal on the power play, but that comes so much later in the game. And on the last of the opportunities that they had, they needed to find a way to get more interior presence. They had to find a way to be less cute and more north-south, like we had seen against Chicago, like we had seen at times against Buffalo. And instead, Columbus made it difficult on them to do so, and the Jets just weren't able or didn't have it in them to pay the price to break down the Blue Jackets' defensive approach to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, again, there's no automatic wins in the NHL. I love that everyone who's mad or angry, and you have the right, especially if you paid money or you spent your time watching that effort. I don't criticize your criticism of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
But you also have to just say that, sometimes teams can execute a game plan against you, and they do a good job of it. And
yeah,
Columbus, it was funny. I was talking to Judy Owen, who sits beside us in the press box and who writes for the Canadian Press. And she was just saying, well, what do you think about this Columbus team? What's your takeaway? And I said, they don't really have much of an identity other than they're playing within that a structure of knowing their limitations with young players and trying to give those guys like Sillinger and Johnston and all of these guys,
Adam Fantilli,
like the tools to be in the NHL. But, that's a team that's clear. I mean, I know they were going after Jacob Trouba, but it's a team that's clearly still trying to create from within. And we can talk about their Cleveland Monsters AHL franchise because they're one of the best teams right now in the American Hockey League. So
but what I like about them, sorry there, Dave, but what I like about it is they know the players have bought in for how they have to win games. They have to, that it starts by and large with defensive responsibility. They had a game plan and they executed it, which to me tells me that they are listening to their head coach. We saw a team yesterday in Chicago that is just a tire fire where everybody's off doing their own thing. Nobody's really on the same page. And as a result, they have a brand new head coach that's going to try and put in that structure. Dean Evison has respect throughout the league. He's a no nonsense kind of guy. Just watching him behind the bench, he is an intimidating guy. Just standing there as he chews his gum and observes the game and makes his in-game adjustments and whatnot. He's not a guy you trifle with, and I think you can see that how his attitude and his approach has permeated the Blue Jackets, the roster. Look, this is a roster of young, talented players. It's easy for young, talented players to just go out and do things, that only requires them to be talented. But ultimately, they're not going to win that way because the players they're going up against are bigger, more mature, equally as talented, have that structure. You need a structure to win consistently in the NHL. Now, I don't think Columbus is going to be at that point where they're going to, this year be a playoff threat or anything along those lines, but you can see that they're laying the groundwork for longer-term success. Right. And today, the Winnipeg Jets saw that, witnessed it, experienced it, and couldn't defeat it. And that is kudos to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And at the same time, the Jets have to be ruining the missed opportunities, especially the ones earlier in the game where I thought they were being too cute by half, when they had some zone possession, when they had some zone time, when they still had some jump in their legs, that it was incumbent on them getting an early goal to lay those seeds of doubt into Columbus.
Yeah, and look, guys are struggling. Cole Perfetti is struggling. There's no doubt about it. Brad Lambert, I'm not putting anything on Brad Lambert. He's a young player. He's played 4 NHL games, I think. So, I mean, you're not expecting him to come in and save the franchise, but there were, like I said, there were a lot of mistakes. The Dylan DeMello pinch now is becoming much more noticeable for the wrong reasons, unfortunately for him. So, collectively, there were a lot of mistakes made by this Jets team. And you can say that there's a variety of reasons and how this team responds to a loss. And I don't think it's a particularly good loss. So you need to see a better response. And they've got tough competition coming in with Boston and Vegas. So, and Montreal's feeling good with Patrick Laine, of course. On Saturday is the fourth game of the 4-game homestand. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's not about winning every single game, because I don't care who you follow. Nobody wins every game, but it's the effort you put out in that game. And it's also, like I said, it's your execution. We've talked about it. The Jets, remember, for so long throughout the course of the season, I mean, obviously the season's not that long through much through the season yet, but throughout it, early on at least, Drew, we talked about the Jets playing to the structure, their identity. We knew what that looked like.
Right.
This doesn't look like that. They look like, and I will give them credit, early on, you talk about it, they did have some jump in their step in that first period. It was kind of weird, actually, because the shots were 7-2 in favor of Columbus.
The flow of the game didn't feel like it was 7-2 Columbus.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So the Jets really, they weren't getting a lot of shots on the net. They were getting a lot of shots at the net. But again, I kind of go with what you were saying, is that I thought they were being too cute by half, trying to get, we might have.
I think we have Scott O'Neill coming up momentarily. Finish your thought, though. Here he is.
Hey, Cal. Okay. Some overall thoughts on how you guys played?
Well, we controlled some of the play there for a second, and they did a really good job blocking shots. Not from a lack of effort from us. I think we could have stuck to our game a little bit longer there. Just stick with the forecheck, simple through the neutral zone, and we got away from that in the third period and kind of bit us.
How tired are you?
I'm fine. Yeah, back to back, and there's no excuses.
Most guys though?
It's fine. I mean, this is, obviously a long road trip. It's everybody goes through it at some point. It's everybody in there felt great. There's no excuses. I mean, we had that tie game at home going to the third. We want that one.
You didn't generate a ton, as you said. What didn't you do enough of?
I'm sorry?
What didn't you do enough of to generate more?
I mean, just moving from our D up top, getting away from that winger coming up, blocking, trying to get in that shot lane. As forwards, maybe holding on to the puck too long. I think we had some offensive zone shifts where, you're almost looking for the perfect play. And by that time they're able to collapse and take away the middle of the ice. And so I think being quicker to get pucks to the net and creating that chaos, and then, those seam plays and everything else will open up from that.
When the team starts to maybe look for those seam plays or sort of pass off opportunities to shoot, I kind of interpret it as maybe mistakes that come from fatigue. I mean, not to push too hard on that the tired or the schedule or all of that sort of stuff, but is there a relationship between those reads and a bit of mental fatigue?
I don't think so. I think it's just a mindset. Maybe you're getting too comfortable, thinking you have space, but you really don't. They're collapsing. They're taking away the good ice. We're just around the outside. That's what we want to do in our D zone. Keep them to the outside. And it's just a mindset shift for us that we need to get back to. And you saw it in glimpses, but I don't think there's anything mental fatigue that an excuse for that.
And it's maybe been a while since. I mean, yesterday would have been a positive example, but a while since we've seen you really lean on teams for kind of an extended period of time. When that's not happening, why is it easier to maybe get into that rush game, and then there's the turnovers and all that sort of stuff to deal with?
Can you be a little more specific, like lean into a team? What do you mean by that?
I mean, just like control flow of play, handoff shifts, ozone shift after ozone shift. I mean, there were times earlier in the season where you guys were doing that sort of thing. And it seems like maybe since that stopped, you guys can get beat in transition a little bit more.
I mean, just speaking on transition, it's reading off each other, covering for a D-man if they're in, being smart to the neutral zone, not turning the puck over. That's where transition offense from the other team generates. So that's where I would look.
And the power play gets one. You had some chances early in the game. Maybe the second period, what were you doing a little bit better that led to your goal?
I think it's just all the small things that add up, reading each other's routes, winning the battles. Doesn't matter where you are. The one, I was carrying the puck up, dropped it to Josh. He goes in, he fills my spot. He's in there. I'm covering for him. So it's just small details that need to be a constant every single time around the ice. And I thought those details were sharp. And when that happens, we get the puck back. It's those battles that makes a difference. And then we're able to play with the puck. And we have all of our set plays and know what we do once we have the puck.
Last one for me is kind of on the getting the puck back, is maybe some of those retrievals after shots. Is that a difference between when you guys are on fire and now?
It's something that we fall back to when it's not going well. That's something that we look forward to. And, teams adjust as well. We got to make adjustments. You can see we've tweaked with our breakouts. We've tweaked with some of the stuff. But at the same time, it's our foundation that makes us good on the power play.
Kyle, I imagine you appreciated Neil coming in to defend you that hit in the first period. Just how close was that to maybe being something a little more dangerous in your eyes?
Yeah, it's hockey. It's happened sometimes. I just kind of got out of the way. I saw him kind of looking to finish the hit, and luckily he didn't get me. Nothing serious.
Were you surprised that was just called 2-minute roughing for the two guys after that? Looked like
yeah,
a little more than that.
Yeah, we were giving it to him for sure. It's yeah, it looked like a fight to me.
Thanks.
All right.
Clearly that wasn't Scott or Neil, but so I'm not even sure who's up next, but that was, of course, Kyle Connor.
Dylan DeMello will be next, Drew.
Dylan DeMello's next? Okay, fair enough.
So.
Now, the reason why this is happening, to take you a little bit behind the scenes, is because it's Armed Forces Night. So they're meeting with a lot of the players are meeting with a lot of the Armed Forces members in attendance.
I guess the good news is when you guys have lost games lately, it seems you're always in the mix in the third period. And looking back to Vegas and Dallas and now tonight, all three of those were games that were tied with, 12 or less, I think, on the clock. I guess what's it going to take to maybe turn some of those regulation losses into wins, or at least getting them to extra time?
Yeah, just making a play or just doing what we need to do in regards to our structure. Felt like we gave them those two tonight. They went and got it, but I think we equally gave it to them. We weren't in our structure and we didn't do what we need to do in certain roles. So, that's really what it came down to, I think.
When you see your goaltender make a great save like Eric did off Sean Monahan there, That's something that I suppose could give the team a lift, right? But then just, I think it was 23 seconds later, they scored. Just disappointed, I guess, that you couldn't maybe build off the momentum off a great save like that?
Just disappointed we couldn't find the win. Pretty plain and simple. I mean, Collins played great. He wasn't the reason we lost. We weren't good on any of the goals that we gave up.
Why do you think that you guys have kind of veered away from your structure, as you said, and kind of being able to execute like you did for the start of the season?
Not sure. Not sure.
Do you think that some of these mental errors from you guys are compounding? Like, does it feel that way, where it's one thing after another?
Yes and no. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just an error in a critical point in the game. Yeah, I mean, very rarely is it one thing that always kills you. Maybe it's a series of breakdowns that happen and things like that lead to a goal against. Tonight it was, I think, a series of breakdowns that ended up, costing us, I think, in the end.
Is there concern that there isn't really an answer or a silver lining as to why you guys have veered away from things?
I think it's encouraging to find the answer. We got time to figure it out. There's still lots of game left, lots of season left. I think, we're in still a pretty darn good spot. And that's the encouraging part, that we still got lots to learn and continue to build our brand here.
Still the note of military appreciation night. So you've just come from a hard-fought loss. You go out there, you meet and greet, you talk to a lot of people who've gone through a lot of different things, and then you come out here and it's like, we're asking you, why did you lose, kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could speak to the importance of the night and then just what it's like as a player to go from one to the next.
Well, I spoke with someone who was just in Iraq for 6 months. I mean, we got a pretty good gig what we're doing here, even in a tough night, where we maybe didn't have our best. There's no bad days in this league. You got to cherish every moment. The men and women that fight for our country, let us play a game for a living. We're not able to do it without their sacrifice and the people that have sacrificed before and the people that will sacrifice, in the future for us. So when you put that thing into perspective, tonight doesn't mean that much in regards to what those have to go through. But, it was great to, put some smiles on some faces out there. And even for us, maybe for a couple of minutes or so, forget about the loss and, thank them for everything that they've done for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
There he goes, Dylan DeMello, as part of this special occasion of different guests joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. I assume Scott Arneal's still coming up at some point in time soon.
Yeah, I just heard Scott Brown say he'll be up right away. So
okay, so
we shouldn't get too long-winded here, Drew.
Yeah, exactly. I won't be too long-winded for once. Scott Arneal will be up next. But, interesting to hear the players' assessment. I mean, it's very similar to what we saw, what everyone saw in this game, that just Columbus was able to execute their game a little bit better, and the Jets were just a little bit more perimeter than they need to be. They were going to make it, they were too much of a perimeter team when, their success comes from getting to the dirty areas. It's such a cliche in this league, but it is truly how you win games more often than not. Every team is trying to keep the opponent out from the middle of the area, and every team is trying to get into the middle of the area, and just a matter of who is able to do it better on any given night. And in that third period of tonight's game, Columbus certainly was able to do it better than the Jets were. The Columbus got their opportunities and they capitalized on it. They get their power play goal, and we'll get into it all coming up momentarily on the post-game recap presented by Play Now. The goal-by-goal recap, of course, but that's just simply what it was for the Winnipeg Jets. Just too much perimeter all game long, particularly in the first period where they were overpassing and I think opportunities were there. And rather than getting shots and then getting rebound opportunities, they were trying to make one perfect pass too many, Dave. And it just instead, it didn't go with the Winnipeg Jets way. As more often than not in this league, one pass too many is going to end up biting you in the behind and isn't necessarily going to lead to success on a long-term basis.
Yeah, I mean, like we heard it from Kyle Connor. He said, we're not playing our game. So when you're not playing their game, that's paraphrasing, of course, but when you're not playing the game that you have had success with, what did he say? Well, sometimes it's a reverting back to previous ways. Well, again, that's not necessarily a good thing. And we've seen that. We've seen those breakdowns, which have led to goals against. And like I said, it's funny that I know people are trying to blame Eric Conry for this, but Jets scored one goal.
Yeah.
And as was outlined earlier, I mean, they scored one goal in 3 of the 4 games that the 3 of the last 4 games he's played. So a goaltender can't score the goals. Well, Elvis Merzlikins tried to.
He's done it before. It's not the first time. This
Yeah.
wouldn't be his first rodeo when it comes to goal scoring. I believe he scored a goal either at the was it the end or he's. I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he's a goalie who's had a goalie goal before.
Sure, but like I said, to me, this isn't about your netminder, and this is about, again, just guys not being crisp, guys making mistakes. I mean, everyone from Josh Morrissey, who made probably the least number of mistakes in tonight's game, to the number of defensemen who made mistakes. Who, like I said, Neil Pionk, 2 egregious turnovers. Colin Miller, a brutal turnover.
Here comes
Scott Arneal. Maybe he'll talk.
How'd that one get away from you?
You know what? Third period made 2 mistakes. Turnover in our end, turnover in neutral zone. They turned around and put them right back in our net.
How disappointing is it to see that?
I mean, you don't want to make mistakes. We're tied going into the third, kind of like we've been the last few games and found ways to win hockey games. This one, we made mistakes and ended up in the back of our net.
Kyle was saying fatigue's no reason, no excuse. What do you think?
No, we're never going to use that one. There's too many teams I can show you. Everybody else's schedule, they're doing the same thing. You know what? It's 3 and 4 nights. That's all the more reason to, simplify what you're doing, making sure that, you hope that, you do the right things. That doesn't turn into offense for the opposition.
Eric gave you a chance?
Again, yeah. Every game he's played. And that's the hard part. We're not getting the run support for him. And he's been really good for us. He certainly isn't any of the problem, that's for sure.
With a schedule like this and a loss like that, I guess one of the things that you don't want to do is give up freebies, right? You want to take advantage of your special teams, and you don't want to make those giveaways. So would you attribute that to mental fatigue, though, or what is going into it?
It's the one thing we talk about, that, if you have to get your body physically ready. You got to recuperate. You got to get yourself ready to go for the next game. But you also have to get your mind ready, too, that you're going to get in situations that, that's the part that happens. You make mistakes because sometimes fatigue is there. But at the end of the day, the other opposition is, if you're putting a lot of heat on them and you're putting them in situations, they're going to make mistakes, too. But that's just hockey at times. It's just the teams that obviously don't make those grade A's that turn into offense the other way. I mean, yeah, but I'm not. We talk about it as a group. We're not looking for excuses based on the schedule. There's not that. This is hockey. There's things that happen out there that you're in charge of and you can handle. And whether that's not having your legs one night or not having, maybe you're not feeling, maybe there's some injuries, whatever it might be. You have to grind your way through it, and everybody else does.
At 0-0 after 1, I can't remember the shots, but they had a lot. And I wonder if the
12-6.
zone time...
12-6.
12-6.
Yeah, and they were playing... They were sitting waiting for us. We knew they were going to come. They're a shot volume team. We knew that the first period there was going to be a lot of pucks thrown over our net. I think the chances ended up being 3-2 for them. So it wasn't like we were sitting getting bombarded. But we knew that I knew Dean he was going to come, and that's his MO from Minnie as well. I mean, they were going to jump on us in that first period. Flew in last night. I thought we did a pretty good job of eliminating the amount of chances that that they were looking to get.
Before the penalty, it looked like you were actually spending most of the shifts in their zone, but maybe the puck was getting the net, but there was no shot or something to that effect.
Yeah, and that's the little bit of the frustration. Our zone time is actually higher than theirs for the game. Thought that there was times where we could attack below the circles, where we should have maybe put the puck into the blue paint and created those second chances. There was a lot of looks where our D had it at the top that got blocked. I think there's 4 or 5 where they hit sticks or they got in their shin pads. Obviously Columbus did a good job of getting in the lanes, but at the same time, our offense is kind of based on, getting pucks, working it from low to high, and then trying to create the separation with the opposition's defense, and then work to get pucks there. And that's one area we got to continually to improve on. Is that earlier on we had a real mindset of we're attack mode all the time, and now we're maybe a little bit at times looking for that one extra pass, and this is the time when you need the volume sometimes.
on the power play, it looked like, I mean, you did get the goal and it does put you up or what have you, but maybe the sheer number of options isn't there, or the pace, or maybe it's the puck recovery, but at some point it just doesn't look like it did maybe 3 weeks ago. And what is that?
I thought the last one did. It's because it started with the shots. And as much as, and it's hard to tell, you're trying to tell these guys that the shot creates the scrambles, it gets the penalty kill out of sync and out of position. But there's also the opposition is trying to do a real good job of getting in those lanes on us. And early in the year, a lot of those pucks are getting through. Now they're, the opposition's trying to making sure that we're not getting those shot opportunities. But when we do attack, like our last power play, when we did get into shot mode and we did get pucks down around the net front, like I said, it created separation, and then it kind of leaves, in that case, Casey all alone coming off that side. So just something we'll continue to work with, kind of like the 5-on-5, that we know what our mindset needs to be. When we have the puck, we got to continue to kind of keep hammering that home.
Just a couple personnel questions, Scott. With Villy, was there any injury there, or just
no? Just we were 3 and 4 nights and trying to get some fresh legs in him, kind of getting back at it. So, Millsy obviously was a big part of what's kind of gone on for us here, since the start of the year. But that was just more about fresh legs. And
with the extended week here at home, and you get some practice time in that, do you have any update on Nikolai Ehlers and when he might resume skating?
Yeah, there could be a chance he could be skating this week. We'll see. We don't practice tomorrow, so good chance he could be out in the ice this week.
Dylan and Kyle talked about kind of how you guys have veered away from your structure. When you assess it, like, is it those second, third chances? Is it mental breakdowns? Like, what is it that's leading to you guys getting away from your game to overarching?
It's kind of a broad question. Like, what part are you?
In terms of, they talk about their structure, like, you're getting from your structure. What is that? How do you?
Well, our structure is, if we're talking about the offensive zone, there's some of the things I just talked to Murat about. If you're talking about our D zone, there's some structure there where we outnumber and we close quick. If you're talking about through the neutral zone structure, that's us being above, always having numbers over top of their numbers. Forcing more dump-ins than carries. Structure is a big word. I mean, there's different areas we look at it. So, tonight I wouldn't say there was one area that was, probably worse than others, or an area that I'm going to zoom in on. There's some nights you go, man, oh man, we couldn't handle them in our end of the rink, or, we couldn't get to their net, different things like that. So, I mean, there's our structure. Obviously, we all know what it is as a group, and it's how we defend when we don't have the puck. And I thought tonight we attacked pucks. We went and got pucks. It wasn't like Columbus had the puck all night. So in that side of structure, I thought we were, that's not an area I would totally go at right now.
In terms of, mental errors, breakdowns on goals, you've mentioned the passing was after the Vegas game. There was rush chances. There was a breakdown tonight as well. What do you think is leading to those kind of mistakes compounding?
Yeah, sometimes first it's numbers. It's getting beat back up the ice. If it's your F3 or it's the other two forwards that are deep, maybe it's your D pinching and somebody not backing them up. Those type of things. When it comes to us on that part of it, it's kind of the reads that happen. Maybe you're pressing so hard to try to score a goal that you get caught. I think on there's a couple of situations where we got caught with numbers, and the Monahan chance they didn't score on was one where we had one guy coming off the bench and the other two got caught deep, and that just creates those odd man looks. And so I think that it's just trying to stick with kind of how we play those things, and making sure that we stressed a lot lately about making sure we got numbers above their numbers.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
There he goes, Jets head coach Scott Arniel, joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Somehow we're already 35 minutes into this. As the players appearing certainly has added some length to the post-game show. Let's get into the goal-by-goal recap. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18 plus. enjoy responsibly. As we talked about, the Jets had some power play opportunities early in this game. Blue Jackets had the first power play opportunity. Morgan Barron takes a tripping penalty early on, 2 minutes and 51 seconds into the game. No damage there. Then James Van Riemsdyk takes a tripping penalty to nullify the final 10 seconds of the Barron penalty. I did not like that, and I thought Neil Pionk's response to Van Riemsdyk sticking his leg out on Kyle Connor was appropriate. I don't know why it was roughing as opposed to fighting for each of them. It certainly looked like a fight to me, Dave.
Yeah, no, it was very weird, and you could see Morgan Barron's face on the jumbotron when they showed him and Neil Pionk in the box. Because I think everyone, as Kyle Connor talked about, was expecting it to be they both dropped the gloves. They were fighting, so I don't understand how it's anything other than a fighting infraction, but yet somehow they called it a roughing. So they were a little incredulous.
I think the context of that play by Van Riemsdyk is important. It's not a traditional tripping penalty that's careless with a foot or careless with a stick. It comes right after Kyle Connor and Vlad Namestnikov, to I would say a lesser extent, sort of embarrassed the Blue Jackets on their power play by not, we know how good Kyle Connor is in tight with the puck and how depth he is at stick handling. The Blue Jackets can't get the puck off of his stick. He's killing valuable seconds of the penalty here. And then as soon as Van Riemsdyk gets an opportunity, he sticks out a leg on Kyle Connor. Dirty play from a veteran who's hanging on for dear life to still be in this league. I didn't like that from James Van Riemsdyk. I thought Kyle Connor took the high road when he addressed it in the Matt Frost Media Center. But I don't think that those two things aren't connected to some degree. Van Riemsdyk was a little pissed off and a little bit embarrassed at Kyle Connor being so successful in what he was doing.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I mean, I can't get into his mind and tell you exactly what he was thinking when he was thinking it, Drew, and when he did that play. But yeah, I mean, it's an unnecessary one. And look, I guess a positive is that Neil Pionk stuck up for his teammate, a guy who's obviously very important for this Jets club and a guy they need to score goals and contribute. So, I mean, sticking up for each other is clearly, like I said, if it's a good play, I don't want to see a good hit story. I can't stand when a guy has to answer the bell for a good hit, because what's the point of having hitting in hockey if you can't allow, if you have your head down, or
clean hit needs a retribution.
Yeah, like it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like I said, like it's not the way you. Again, like I said, if a guy goes after a guy unnecessarily, but a good old Scott Stevens hit is still something of beauty in the as infrequently as we see it. But although as he's not on the show right now, so I guess I don't need to make Devils references or old school Devil references. Yeah, and so like the Jets get the power play out of it, and their power play was anemic, and that was the problem. It was almost like too cute, trying to make it was just not as fast as we're used to seeing it, and I don't know that I can really give you any more diagnosis than that, Drew. Really, it was just to me.
Well, they missed Nikolai Ehlers. I mean, and now you
heard. And I said that.
You heard from Scott O'Neill that Nikolai Ehlers is likely to be back on the ice for the Jets at some point in time this week.
Yeah, but that did not sound like. I mean, it was remember, it was 7 to 10 days as of 5 days ago.
Right.
But that did not.
I mean, I think the best case scenario, you're talking the end of this week, at the end of the homestand.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it didn't. To me, it was like, yeah, he should be skating. Like, not like, oh yeah, we're expecting to get him back. We're going to see him back. I don't know. Like I said, we'll find out. The Jets are not going to be on the ice tomorrow, so we'll find out Tuesday when they have morning skate as they get ready to take on the Bruins.
That's right. So that's the Tuesday game, the Jets and the Boston Bruins. So after the Jets kill off the Morgan Barron penalty, they now have 4 consecutive power play opportunities. They get the next 4 penalties are all called against Columbus. And we spoke about it in the preamble, but you have to strike earlier than the 4th one, albeit it gives them the 1-0 lead, and it comes at the 11:51 mark of the second period. But an earlier goal here makes the world of difference. Either Van Riemsdyk when he's in the penalty for the tripping, Dante Fabro takes a hooking penalty about 7 minutes later in the first period. Damon Severson takes a high sticking penalty to start the second period. An earlier goal makes a world of difference for the Winnipeg Jets in this one. They don't get it until Kyle Connor scores with Justin Danforth in the box for boarding on Josh Morrissey. Connor, his 15th of the year, assist to Josh Morrissey, assist to Mark Scheifele, and the Jets have the 1-0 lead. but it still didn't look crisp. It didn't. The power play was not what I would describe as executing like a well-oiled machine. Yes, they get the power play goal, but it's more of a when you sort of hold your nose and call a power play goal than a high functioning power play goal.
Well, the one thing I will say that is pretty spectacular though is Mark Scheifele's pass to Josh Morrissey, because they do work very well together, and you can see the familiarity that they have as a power play unit, and the comfort in knowing where the 55 knows where 44 is going to be, and to get him that puck. So I like that element of it was good. And look, it's a really good Cal Connor shot, his 15th goal of the season. And as we said, for a guy who went 7 games without scoring, to have 15 and 29 is still a pretty good average for him, right? If he can get into that 30-40 range, you're not going to be complaining about that for Kyle Connor. But ultimately, yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, to me, this is a team that needed to take advantage earlier in the power play to really kind of assert themselves, to get some sort of, especially because you knew that, it's the back-to-back, it's your 3rd game in 4 nights. And I'm not using the tired excuse. Again, like I said, I don't get paid by the Jets. I don't need to make excuses for them. I'm just telling you what I saw, whether I was in the building or watching it on television. But this is a team that, if you could have, especially given the fact that Columbus had lost 3 games in a row coming into tonight's game.
Yeah.
And while Columbus it's not like you're playing a team that is far back. They're I can't remember where they are in the Metro, but the point is that they're not that far back, even though they are in last. They are only a few points out of from the team that's just ahead of them. So
yeah. So in the Metro, I mean, the difference between 4th place in the Metropolitan Division and last place is 2 points.
That's
so the New York Rangers have 29 points. They're in 4th place in the Metro.
Yeah.
And then the Blue Jackets have 27 points. And technically they're in last place in the Metropolitan Division. So the Blue Jackets certainly, if you're looking at it from an Eastern Conference playoff race perspective, even though the Blue Jackets are towards the bottom of the conference, they are really only 2 points out of a playoff spot. So they know that every one of these wins, they're still thinking playoffs. They're still in the hunt. They're still, there's still runway in their season, 52 games left. 55 games left that, every game matters to them, and they want to play with that structure, and they want to continue to build what they've built so far through 27 games.
Yeah. And that's the only thing I was going to add is that you're not playing a team that's just like, all right, we're already thinking about next year. And they still have some reason to fight and have a little bit of pride and like I said, to try and get off their out of their losing streak and out of their losing ways. So like I said, and the other thing also, Drew, I think I can't remember where but their special teams actually, unlike the Hawks, who are a poor team but have good special teams, Columbus isn't that way. If I recall correctly from my pregame report, which I'm going to just quickly reference right now. But I'm fairly certain they're 28th ranked power play and the 29th ranked penalty kill. So that just goes to show you.
Yeah, the Jets should have made more hay on the power play opportunity.
That's exactly it. And Tracy, I've got the comment up from Tracy. The power play has gone stagnant. They're not moving around. Put someone other than Perfetti on PP1. Probably not a bad idea, to be honest with you, because
he's not showing much in his power play opportunities.
No, he's really not. And again, Cole Perfetti, let's be realistic, is never going to be associated with the word speed.
Right.
And and again, he's cerebral. He can make a pass. I'm not maligning his skill set, but he's not a fast player, and he doesn't play particularly fast. And I just think that's what it needs on power play 1. There's a huge fall off. I mean, you can't look. Nikolai Ehlers is here. Cole Perfetti is here. Like there's no mincing words. There's no pretending otherwise. One's been in the a pro for probably 5 or 6 years longer. So there's a significant disparity in that regard in terms of experience, but you just can't compare what Nikolai Ehlers brings to the Jets power play versus Cole Perfetti. And
Agreed with that.
And also Drew, to Cole Perfetti was fine on the second power play unit. That power play unit was having success, right? But so maybe what you need to do is bring a Brad Lambert. And again, I'm not suggesting that Brad Lambert is Nikolai Ehlers, other than the speed. So maybe you throw Lambert on that power play unit and you bring that speed element a little bit more. And let's be realistic. Brad Lambert was having success on the power play with the Moose. It's one area where the Moose, when they were having success, was on special teams. So he knows how to score, despite them missing the empty net in Chicago last game. But I'm just saying, that might be one way to change things up a little bit. And we'll see what they do Tuesday morning for at Morningscape.
Yeah, and that, of course, Tuesday afternoon, 12 noon, special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show coming to you live from City Place. That's our noon hour show. We do it monthly from City Place ahead of the Jets and the Boston Bruins. So be sure to join us if you're downtown, or make a trip downtown to join us at City Place on Tuesday afternoon. 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets about halfway through the second period, but it takes the Blue Jackets all of 2 minutes and 2 seconds to get their own power play goal. This is with Brad Lambert in the box for high sticking, just a careless high stick in the offensive zone. Dmitry Voronkov gets his 7th of the season, assist to Kirill Marchenko and Zach Werenski. And you can look back and you can watch this. It's a great play. I mean, Voronkov is just left all alone. That in itself isn't the great play, but you can see the confusion between Dylan DeMello and Neil Pionk.
Now, Drew, hold on. I don't want to go too far. I don't want to interrupt you. I know you're in a flow here, but are you sure you don't want to do something after the Kyle Connor goal?
Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry. Thank you very much.
The Seagram shot of the game.
I was saying that the Jets might not be using being tired as an excuse, but I am. I'm tired. This is our 4th show since Thursday night's post-game show, so I'm a little bit tired. The brain isn't functioning at full speed, especially on Sundays. It doesn't usually function at full speed anyways. But yes, thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Seems like it's a fireball night. I see people are fired up in the chat. Seems like a fireball night. Ignite the night with Fireball, courtesy of our friends at Seagram's. So Voronkov, as I was mentioning, thank you, Dave. He gets his 7th, assist to Marchenko and Werenski. Yeah. And there's confusion on the Jets penalty kill. You look at it, you look back, you watch the replay, you see that DeMello and Pionk are trying to communicate with one another as to who needs to go where. But by the time they figure out the communication, it's too late. And the puck gets whipped through from Marchenko onto Voronkov's stick. And it's a great pass from Werenski to Marchenko. And just the confusion. Look, it's difficult enough on a penalty kill without confusion, but when you add in confusion and you add that to the recipe, it's no wonder the Jets get burnt here and the Blue Jackets tie it up at a goal apiece.
Yeah, and you finally get a little life in the building, right? You score the goal, you got the power play goal. Kyle Connor, celebrates. Everybody's excited, and like I said, it was took a building that was pretty lifeless, and it made it something. And you got to give the Jackets credit. They pressured hard, even though they don't have a particularly good power play, but Neil Pionk and Dylan DeMello play that as poorly as you can imagine, because
they're both on the same side of the ice.
They're both putting themselves out of position. They're trying to, like you said, communicate, but by the time there's an opportunity to reset and get back into the front of the net, it's already in the back of the net. And so it's a tough look for those guys, because you're not talking about 2 guys who are young defensemen. Those are 2 veteran guys. Right. And unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for the Jets, they give the Blue Jackets a little life by allowing them to score that goal.
Yeah, exactly right. And then the Blue Jackets, so the Blue Jackets are feeling good. They've tied it up, and that's the way the second period ends. And then the Jets head into the third period. It's a 1-1 game. What do the Jets have left in the tank? Which of these 2 teams is going to want it more? Which of these 2 teams is going to execute better in a third period? And it was clearly the Columbus Blue Jackets were the answer. It just looked like, from the get-go of that third period, the Jets looked like they were skating in molasses a little bit, like their boots were really quite heavy. And Columbus had some jump, and the Jets made some careless turnovers. And it ends up with Kent Johnson getting the game-winning goal. It's his 7th of the year. Assist to Sean Monahan and James Van Riemsdyk. And again, it's just another blown coverage by the Winnipeg Jets. It's a bad giveaway. The puck gets moved around to the point. The Blue Jackets are doing a nice job cycling, and then Monahan gets his shot through, and Kent Johnson is just left all alone. Nobody touches him. Van Riemsdyk gets his shot through, and then Kent Johnson is just left alone next to Eric Comrie. It looks like in this instance, I think it's Kyle Connor is a little bit late picking him up, as Hayden Fleury is going out to challenge net front, but he's challenging Van Riemsdyk. And it's just too many guys for Columbus behind the Jets defenders in this case. And Kent Johnson isn't going to have a much easier goal than this one to make it 2-1.
And it all starts by Kyle Connor being soft defensively, right?
Yeah.
Because he's got the puck with very little pressure at the back of behind the net when he takes it. And again, he's got great hands, but he's got time. And instead he just loses the puck. And I don't know if he was thinking he'd get it to Velarde, but by this point now he's, and then you've got Velarde and Fleury, like you said, Drew, Fleury goes to the top of the circle. And again, that means, well, wait a second. If Fleury's at the top of the circle, one of the wingers or the center has to drop back and back him up, right?
And instead, it's Kyle Connor. You can see it on the replay.
No. I know that, but I'm just saying, like, again, it's another instance where Kyle Connor, again, a player we're not going to confuse with a Selke contender anytime soon. Doesn't get his man. And unfortunately, Neil Pionk is unable to really do anything either. And it's in the back of the net. And so these are the types of mental mistakes that I think people are asking about, because like I said, this is an opportunity for the Jets to really, they could have broken out if Connor has a little more control, gets it onto Velarde at the wall, but instead he doesn't. And then he really doesn't do much to prevent the goal once the Blue Jackets take the puck and start pressing. And unfortunately for them, now it's in the back of the net. It's a 2-1 game.
And then it became a 3-1 game not that long after. 2 minutes and 27 seconds later, Kent Johnson gets his second of the game, his 8th of the season, assist to Van Riemsdyk and Ivan Provorov. And this is just, again, a careless turnover. It's a bad pass by Mark Scheifele. He's trying to hit the Dylan DeMello at the Blue Jackets blue line, but the pass is at, DeMello's knees. It's up in the air. DeMello isn't able to knock it down, and the Blue Jackets very, very quickly transition it up the ice. And the problem is you have 4 Jets players who are pressing, trying to attack where there's not an attack possibility here. The Blue Jackets quickly transition it. I mean, it's Provorov just sort of passing it back up the ice to Van Riemsdyk, and Van Riemsdyk with a beautiful saucer pass over onto the stick of Kent Johnson, and Johnson makes no mistake in beating Eric Comrie. No chance for Eric Comrie. This comes all after Comrie makes his best save of the game, a great glove save on Sean Monahan to keep it at a 1-1 game. And then, of course, the Blue Jackets get the 2 goals. The floodgates are open. They get the empty netter, 4-1, and the Jets are just too little too late in that third period. Kudos to the Columbus Blue Jackets for making the Jets try and executing their game plan better than the Jets did. That would be how I would describe it. They weren't trying to do anything to the Jets aside from making it more difficult on them, and they succeeded in doing that, in keeping the Jets out of the areas the Jets want to get to, and being very quick in transition when the opportunities presented themselves.
Yeah, and like I said, this Jets team, I mean, it's always worth putting into perspective, as Kevin Sawyer did on the broadcast. You don't like this game, and I'm not going to pretend like you do, but it's also, they played a much better game against the Blackhawks last night, and ultimately they've won 2 of their last 3 games. Now I know they've been losing. They're desperate to get Dylan Sandberg back. He's not going to be back anytime soon. We don't expect Drew. They need Nikolai Ehlers back. They appear to have Mark Scheifele back. I think the faceoffs ended up being like 60-40 in favor, maybe even higher. Maybe it was like 65-35 in favor of the Jets. So
that's what they were. 67-33.
Yeah. So the Jets faceoffs weren't a problem tonight.
Yeah.
But like I said, it just nothing really like when I think about the lines throughout the course of tonight's hockey game, and the Jets were getting, again, they didn't get a lot of shots in tonight's game. What was the final?
The final shots in tonight's game were 28-25 in the advantage of Columbus. I mean, the Jets had 14 shots through 40 minutes.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. But they must have had so they had 11 in that third.
They had
period.
11. Most of them were, late in the game, throw everything
when they're pressing. Sure,
exactly.
But this is still a team that they have a chance. Now, what we've seen from them for the most part, and again, they're dealing with injuries, so I'm not going to. You can't sugarcoat it. You can't replace Nikolai Ehlers. Like, again, I wasn't expecting Brad Lambert, who's just in his second full season playing pro in North America, to come in and replace Nikolai Ehlers. He just wasn't going to do it. He's not Nikolai Ehlers. I like Brad Lambert. I think he's a very good talent, but I just don't think he's Nikolai Ehlers. And similarly, with all due respect to Hayden Fleury, he's not Dylan Sandberg, not by a long shot. He doesn't give you nearly what Dylan Sandberg does. And that's not a surprise.
Steadiness. That's where they're missing the steadiness of Dylan Sampy right now.
Of course. And so that's, like I said, this will be something that I'm still a little bit surprised that, Scott Arniel chose not to use like Dylan Coghlan, David Gustafson, just to get a little some more jump because you knew you were going to need it in the third period, right, Drew?
Right.
You knew that in the third period, it'd start to get us to be a bit of a slog, kind of like driving in Winnipeg right now. And so that was a little bit evident. And I'm not blaming the fourth line because I thought like they were fine in their I don't know how many minutes they played in tonight's game. It couldn't have been very much.
Right.
But I just didn't notice, like, I'm just thinking, like, I noticed the Scheifele line. They created opportunities. They also obviously created some problems for themselves, but they created opportunities. The Lowry line similarly had some early chances. The Nemesnikov line, I can't think about anything that they did that was particularly like jumping off the page. There was the one chance, and I think it was on the power play when Cole Perfetti was in front of the net and took a shot and hit Merzlikins in the kind of right in the logo.
Stop for a second. We have a well-stated policy on this show. If you give us money, we give you a shout out. Thank you for $100. That's very generous.
Well, Frederick's been chatting for quite some time. We appreciate Frederick. We appreciate everybody, whether you give us money or not. We appreciate
the super chat contributions and the chat contributions, and
sure.
Everything under the sun. But that's very generous, Frederick, and I didn't want to gloss over it without referencing it. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
I actually didn't notice. I was looking over there, but I was looking at the screen. But thank you, Frederick, and thank you, everyone in the chat for being part of this. It's not easy when the Jets lose. We definitely have bigger numbers when the Jets win, but we appreciate everybody who tunes in, night out, regardless of the outcome, to join Drew, Ezzy, and myself here on the Illegal Curve postgame show or the Illegal Curve hockey show. Smash that like button though while we're here, and make sure you're subscribing. I'll throw that one in there as well.
There you go. So the Jets lose tonight 4-1, a familiar score as you might have expected. Disappointing result to start the homestand. The Jets look to get back on the winning side of the column on Tuesday against the Boston Bruins in what ought to be a more entertaining game than tonight's was at the very least. We'll come back. Some interesting comments from Dean Evison. We'll bring those to you on the other side of the break. We'll wrap up the show. We'll get you ready for Tuesday night as well. Kenny's water bottle.
Whoa. KWB comes in there off the top ropes.
Hope this is enough to bail Ezzy out of jail tonight. Yes, we hope it is as well. Thank you, Kenny's water bottle. Everyone's being very generous tonight. We appreciate
it's the holiday season, Drew.
What's that? It's the holiday season.
The holiday season.
Yes, thank you. You guys are all guys and gals are all being very nice, and we greatly appreciate all of your contributions, financial or chat-wise or otherwise, or just your presence being here on the regular basis as we bring you the Illegal Curve post-game show after each and every game, and again on Saturday mornings. We'll be back. More of the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Don't go anywhere.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you. Sunday night, the Jets defeated 4-1 on home ice to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Look to get back at it on Tuesday. Post-game show. It's a 7 o'clock puck drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, post-game show right around 9:40 p.m. on Tuesday. But, of course, Tuesday, 12 noon, Boston Pizza. Not Boston Pizza. City Place, pardon me. City Place. Where
Near
there
a Boston
is
Pizza.
Boston Pizza.
Yeah, just below.
We'll be at the food court in City Place on Tuesday afternoon, 12 noon. So come by, check us out, watch the Illegal Curve, a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And then we'll get you set for the Jets and the Bruins as the Jets look to get better results on home ice than they've had over the last 2 games where they've been defeated by the Blue Jackets and the St. Louis Blues going back to last week. So that'll be a fun week ahead. We look forward to bringing you all the coverage here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Courtesy of our buddy Darren Bombing, here's what Blue Jackets head coach Dean Evison had to say after the game. Quote, what we did after we got the lead and or even before we had the lead when it was tied is that we made them being the Jets, continually go back and get some pucks. We didn't turn it over. We didn't feed into their transition game where they could get going and get their offense going. We got pucks out. We didn't let them have sustained pressure. Our guys were committed to doing the right things defensively, and obviously it translated into some offense here tonight as well. So there you go. Blue Jackets head coach Dean Evison, Dave, really giving a good synopsis of what he did. Thank you, Tikona Pauly, what he did, what his team did tonight.
I don't know what's going on right now. I mean, this is probably one of the funniest things we've seen. Well, it's happened before, but I guess the holiday spirit is buzzing. You know, Ty is donating $50, but he wants me to say hi to, Tikona Pauly is donating $50, but he wants me to say hi to Tyrell Bauer. Might be a little difficult, Tikona, because the Moose are right out on the road. They were off today after a pair of games this weekend, and they are out on the road to Abbotsford. I think that they're going to be heading to play some games against, I think they've got 4 games on the road. I was looking at the schedule. So I'll have to hold your hello to Tyrell Bauer in abeyance for a bit. Yeah, they're heading to play the Calgary Wranglers, who they'll play on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then they're out in Abbotsford. So
I can't believe the Moose Insider didn't know the schedule off the top of his head. That's a little bit.
Well, it's funny. As soon as I said Abbotsford, I kind of felt like I was wrong because I could have sworn when I looked at the email today that it said they were going to Calgary first. So that's why I wanted to correct myself. But Tikona Pauly, as soon as they're going to the home of Tyrell Bauer in Calgary, but I will see what I can do in that. And of course, Darth Skater. We appreciate this is not a telethon. It's starting to turn into a telethon.
For the record, but for anybody listening on the podcast, we have not asked for any of these contributions. We are not, shamelessly begging for money. What we will do is we will shamelessly plug you if you give us money, and there is a difference between the two. So we thank everybody for that. Let's wrap it up, Dave, real quick. The Moose, they were in action yesterday.
Sure.
We'll do a quick one because I'm tired and my wife and I want to go watch some TV shows together. So a quick Moose Minute to wrap it up.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manouk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I'm not even going to go into the game because for the second consecutive game, the Moose blew a 3-0 lead to lose. Yesterday, they at least got a point in the shootout. It was their first shootout, I believe, of the season. First or second. But anyways, the point is the Moose
Jets
were
don't
in.
have one yet either.
Yeah, so that's right. They were mentioning that on the broadcast. Was that yesterday, Drew? I think yesterday's broadcast they mentioned. Anyways, Moose were in action. Good news, bad news. As I mentioned on Saturday shows, the good news, Chaz Lucius playing his first back-to-back set of games for the Moose, the 2021 first rounder of the Winnipeg Jets. He's feeling good. He's looking good. Had another goal yesterday. So he's got 2 goals in 2 straight games, but more importantly, played the back-to-back. And he's looked, like I said, he's looked good. And I don't want to be too hyperbolic, Drew, but I've said for a long time that to me, he is probably the guy, when healthy, who's the most exciting Jets prospect that they've got in the system. He's got size. He has an excellent shot. He's got good puck sense. His skating is decent, not like amazing, but his skating is pretty good. He's got it all. So if he can, except for one thing, health. So if he can stay healthy, which is significant,
yeah,
but I understand, but I really do think he's got a lot of the things that the Jets could ultimately need. But this is a critical year for him. Bless you. So for Chaz Lucius, that's a real big thing for him that he gets that goal. His confidence is sky high. He's obviously not happy about losing the 2 games this weekend, but from a Jets fan's perspective, you're very happy with the fact that Chaz Lucius looked good. Elias Salomonsson, that one doesn't look so good. It looked bad when I saw it, of course, but I was doing the broadcast. So of course I wasn't down at Canada Life. I didn't get a chance to get an update. And with the team leaving, I'll see if I can find out what is going on with him, but he didn't play in the game. No surprise. Cause he looked like, I would imagine maybe shoulder, but it looked bad on the hit. Yeah. So I don't know if he's on the road trip. I'll find out and I'll have that information for everyone. Either Tuesday's lunch broadcast or Tuesday's night broadcast. But ultimately, the Moose, there was the revenge of Wyatt Bongiovanni because after the Moose built up a 3-0 lead, Nikita Chibrikov, I should mention, who's leading the Moose in scoring, he scored his 5th goal of the season. He scored right after Chaz Lucius. So the 21 draft class, the first rounder and the second rounder, they were having some success this weekend. And then the Moose gave up 2 goals in the second, a goal in the third. Wyatt Bongiovanni, Wyatt Bongiovanni scored to tie it, I should say. That was the 3rd goal to make it a 3-3 game. And then they couldn't get it done in the shootout. Thomas Milch was good in overtime, gave up, had 7 shots, saved all of them. And I would be loath to not mention Dom DiVincentis won his 6th game in the ECHL. So 6-0 for Norfolk Admirals. And I think Kevin, he had 2 assists. But all that will be in the notes on illegalcurve.com tomorrow morning.
There you go. The Manitoba Moose Minute as only Dave can to wrap up a very busy weekend of shows and a very busy Sunday for us here at Illegal Curve. And of course, illegalcurve.com, the website, is your destination for all of the news and notes that you need regarding the Winnipeg Jets and the Manitoba Moose. The Jets drop a 4-1 decision to Columbus tonight. We'll be back Tuesday at 12 noon at City Place. Come down and join us live and in person. We'll have it live on the YouTube channel, of course, as well, but be there if you're downtown. It's much more entertaining to gaze your eyes upon Dave and myself, and I think Ginsburg as well, on Tuesday afternoon. Big thanks to all the sponsors of the show who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Play Now, they're the title sponsor of our programming. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Matt Broussard at Rumors starting on Tuesday. Tickets available, rumorscomedyclub.com. You don't want to miss Matt. Holt Dental, City Place, Boston Pizza, and of course, our friends at Seagram's. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. Thanks to all of you who joined us last night. Thanks to all of you who joined us on Saturday morning. And of course, thanks to all of you who joined us on Thursday night when we started this 4 shows in 4 days stretch that we're just in the midst of. We appreciate your support, be it telling people about this programming, be it the financial contributions, totally unnecessary, but very much appreciated, or just your moral support and wishing us well as we grind through this day after day, night after night. We'll see everybody on Tuesday afternoon at City Place. For Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Smash the like button on your way out. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Good night and good luck, and we'll see you on Tuesday afternoon at City Place.